Hey guys, today I want to show you how to set up Reactor as a MIDI effect inside Logic Pro X, Logic 10. And to give you an example of that, what I have here on my channel is FM8 with a sound, just a quick sound that I made. And then I have Reactor here as my MIDI effects. And inside Reactor, I'm using a sequencer to send notes to this FM8 synth. And now if I play my Logic project, we get to hear that sequence. So let's set up a new track and then I'll walk you through from the beginning. So I created a new track. I'm gonna load FM8 on that track just as a placeholder for now. And that comes up with a standard sine wave. Just like that. And then inside my MIDI effects, I'm going to go with audio units and then native instruments and then Reactor MIDI effects. If you don't have this option here, you might want to update your Logic to the latest version because this is a fairly recent addition. So now when we open up Reactor, nothing is there. So we're going to click Edit and then we're going to go to our library and then we're going to go to Utilities and then we're going to choose a clock, which looks like that if we see that in the other panel. And we can remove both the inputs and the outputs. We don't need that because we're just gonna be playing around with MIDI. So once we have that in place, let's go with a sequencer, and we can choose any one, any sequencer that we like, but I happen to like this one. And now I'm gonna connect the gate to the gate of the sequencer and the reset to the reset of the sequencer. And then one last thing we'll need is again under utilities, and that is our MIDI out. So we're gonna load that as well. And then I'm gonna hook up the pitch and the gate. All right, so now if we go to the panel, we can see what that looks like, and I can just drag the order here to make it a little bit more straightforward. So this is also the sort of signal flow where the clock is the first thing in the chain and it goes to the sequencer and then it goes to the MIDI out. So here on the clock I'm going to hit external so that it's going to sync to my Logic project, and then I'm going to set this a little bit slower. So now when you play Logic, you should see the sequencer start to play as well, which it does, so that's great. And then let's create some melody here, something quick. Something C minor-y. Let's go like that. All right. Now, when you play this, you don't hear anything yet, which confused me at first. But that's because you need to set your gate messages first. So the gate is actually going to send a trigger. So this top lane is just for the pitch, the MIDI notes, the actual frequency. And then the gate tells the note to sort of trigger. And then I'm going to set the velocity to the maximum amount. And now we should hear something. Alright, that works. Let's make this a little bit fancier. And let's also open up FM8 to create a little bit of a sound here. So here we have our F operator, which is playing back a sine wave. Let's tempo sync the envelope there and create a plucky kind of sound, like so. And then we'll send operator E into F, meaning that we're gonna modulate the frequency of F with operator E. And I'll set that to be a saw wave, and I'll make that very short. Okay. So that's pretty nice. Nothing too special yet, but the cool thing right now is that we can actually save this channel strip by clicking and holding here on settings, and then you can save channel strip setting as, and that will save the melody and your synth in one. So if you have a great melodic idea and you have a great synth sound that fits with it, this is a way to save that all in one channel strip. Now let's take this one step further. So we've checked out how to send MIDI notes to a synth. Let's actually check out how to send automation data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my editor panel panel here, and I'm gonna again go with the codec, but this time I'm gonna choose the curve sequencer, and I'm gonna load that up right here, and then I'm also gonna route the gate and the reset to that block, and then I'm gonna send output 1 to CV1 on my MIDI out and output 2 to CV2 on my MIDI out. So now when I switch back, I'm just gonna rearrange these, something like that, and we'll put these at the end. Alright, so now with this I can send CC messages or control messages to FM8. So let's first create some. Oh, actually, let's keep this for now. So this first top lane, which is the 1 part, and then with the slider I can set it to the 2 part. This is gonna send to the first port on my MIDI out, which is now set to CC1, but I can change that to, let's say, 75. And then inside FM8 I can choose any parameter that I want to control, and I can MIDI learn that. But before we do that, I just want to make a new sound based on the sound that we have right now. So currently we have this plucky kind of sound. And if I go to the easy morph page here, I can say normalize timbres, which is gonna paste this plucky sound to every corner of this morph pad. And with this morph pad, we can actually scan between different sounds. So right now, if I go to my expert view, at the top here you can see the same version. If I drag this around, nothing is really changing. But what I can do here is I can set this to a new corner and then change my sound. So I can set D to be the output, for example. I can set that to a saw wave. I can set the ratio an octave lower and something like that. So now when I switch back, we see that we have 2 different sounds, one in the lower left corner and one in the lower right corner. So this was the original sound, and this is the new sound. We'll make that a little bit heavier still by using another operator to 0.25, so 2 octaves lower. I'll set that to a square, and I'll tempo sync that and let it sort of fade in. And if you want more information on this morph pad, I do have a video on that as well. If you just type FM8 and then my name or Pyramind, you'll find that one. But for now, we've created 2 different sounds, and now I want to morph between these using the morph sequencer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my easy morph page. I'm going to select this red thingy here, which morphs between the 2 sounds, and then I'm going to click MIDI learn, and then I'm going to hit play. And now, because I hit play inside Logic, the sequencer started, and this sequencer sends to MIDI's, creates a CC number 75. So now this top sequencer here is set up to control this morph pad. So what we can do is we can create, we can choose curves here, and then let's first create just a flat line there. And then let's say somewhere at around 5, I'm going to fade that up, and then here it can go back down again. So let's see what that looks like inside FM8. So everything inside FM8 that has this tiny little square thing can be morphed in such a way. For example, you can go to the effects here, and you can see that the effect amount knob has that small morph square. So what I could do is I could have one of the sounds with a little bit of reverb and the other one completely dry. So in this lower left corner, I'll set the amount all the way up, and then I drag this to the right corner, and then I set it all the way down. And if you want to make this morph a little bit smoother, you can set the random amount right here. And you can set the random seed, which is gonna, instead of instantly going to the other sound, it's gonna try to morph it towards the next sound. you can do all sorts of things. I can now enable new operators. I could let it morph around 4 corners. Actually, let's quickly see how to set that up. So right now we're only using this first lane. If I set this all the way to 2, it's going to use this second lane. And then I can create a new sort of pattern there. Let's say something like this. And then I'll send this to MIDI CC 70. What should we do? Actually, it doesn't really matter. 77. And then if I click on this first one, it's gonna disable that. And now, and we need to do that because I'm gonna MIDI learn again. So when you're doing a MIDI learn, you don't want to receive 2 MIDI messages. So this time I'm gonna drag this up and down, and then I'll hit MIDI learn. Okay, and what you can see right now, and this happens quite a lot, is that it has learned the wrong axis. It goes from left to right, just as the other one. But what we can do, the easiest way to fix that is to do a manual assignment, which we can do from the master page right here. So we have 77 and 75. So I'm going to set morph Y to 75. And now with these 2 sequencers, if I set this all the way in the middle, we should be able to morph between all corners. And we only have 2 sounds right now, but what we can do is go to the browser and go to, for example, plucked strings, and then drag that over the morph corners. And let's choose another one. I'm going to drag that in the upper right corner. So now we have 4 completely different sounds. And now I can mess with my sequencer here to change the sort of when it's switching. Something like that. So I don't really like this sound right here, so I'm going to choose a different one there. Let's choose a, what should we do? Maybe some keys. Right? So the sound in this case is not very interesting, but I hope you can see the potential of this, especially the ability to save everything in sort of one channel strip and be able to recall it very quickly. All right, I hope that gives you some new ideas to mess around with, and I'll see you guys in a new video.
If you're an aspiring music producer looking for that breakthrough moment to evolve your sound, check out our online mentorship network at Pyramind.com.